reading today is by the poet Amanda Gorman, who was the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history and the first youth poet laureate. I thought I'd awaken to a world in mourning, heavy clouds crowding a society storming. But there's something different on this golden morning, something magical in the sunlight, wide and warming. I see a dad with a stroller taking a jog. Across the street, a bright-eyed girl chases her dog. Grandma on the porch fingers her rosaries. She grins as her young neighbor brings her groceries. While we might feel small, separate, and all alone, our people have never been more closely tethered. The question isn't if we can weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together. So on this meaningful morn, we mourn and we mend. Like light, we can't be broken, even when we bend. As one, we will defeat both despair and disease. We stand with healthcare heroes and all employees, with families, libraries, waiters, schools, artists, businesses, restaurants, and hospitals hit hardest. We ignite not in the light, but in lack thereof, for it is in loss that we truly learn to love. In this chaos, we will discover clarity. In suffering, we must find solidarity. For it's our grief that gives us our gratitude, shows us how to find hope even if we lose it. So ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give it purpose. Use it. Read children's books, dance alone to DJ music. Know that this distance will make our hearts grow fonder. In these waves of woes, our world will emerge stronger. We'll observe how the burdens braved by humankind are also the moments that make us humans kind. Let each morning find us courageous, brought closer, heeding the light before the fight is over. When this ends, we'll smile sweetly, finally seeing in testing times we became the best of beings. So I was born at the turn of the 21st century, and I've grown up in a post-9/11 world full of school shootings, an uncertain economy, and the ever-increasing impacts of climate change. I was raised as a Unitarian Universalist from a young age in Corvallis, Oregon, in one of the least religious counties, in a country where less people identify as religious every day. And last week, I moved to New York City to start seminary to become a Unitarian Universalist minister. And if you think I look young now, it might shock you to hear that the first time I guest preached outside of my home congregation was the Sunday after I bridged. Bridging is what we call the ritual transition from youth to young adulthood, generally recognized around the same time as high school graduation. And the attrition rate for Unitarian Universalists who bridge is staggeringly low. There aren't any recent statistics, but the off-cited number of UUs in our congregations who were raised in this faith is about 12.5%. So even as those numbers fluctuate throughout time, it's clear from both our limited data and anecdotal information that the vast majority of Unitarian Universalists do not continue to stay in a part of our congregations when they grow up. And that's been the case for decades and generations. And as part of the new generation of Unitarian Universalists who are growing up and out of our faith, I don't want this to keep happening. Unitarian Universalism is going through significant cultural and theological shifts right now. As a predominantly white, progressive religion, Unitarian Universalists have often been self-congratulatory in the face of performative and sometimes real activism, but have neglected to look within and confront the ways in which the culture of white supremacy has permeated all aspects of our institutions. As pews empty across the country and fewer people identify as religious, Unitarian Universalism must find a way to justify its existence today. We must define ourselves not in opposition to the religious traditions we come from, but the religion we want to be today. A few years ago, a candidate for the UUA Board of Trustees released a campaign statement where she stated that younger and/or marginalized identifying people want to take Unitarian Universalism in a profoundly different direction. She suggested that we leave Unitarian Universalism, the Unitarian Universalism we were raised in, and form our own branch. And she even offered up a name for us, 21st Century UUs. Now, as a younger and marginalized identifying, whatever that means, UU, I don't want to start a new branch of our faith, and I don't want to take it in a different direction. I want to be in community with all of you and continue on the path towards liberation and justice that we have always been marching down as we continuously attempt to draw the circle wider and bend the arc of the universe towards justice. And that's why I spent the last year writing an honors thesis for my undergraduate degree in religion at Wellesley College on modern-day Unitarian Universalist theology, inspirationally titled 21st Century Unitarian Universalism. After all, that is the century we're all living in. I'm dedicated to helping Unitarian Universalism be the faith I've always expected it to be. I believe Unitarian Universalism has the potential for a rich, deep theology that brings with it the heretical challenges of our forebears, the curiosity and reason of the Unitarians, the welcome and love of the Universalists, and the innovation and promise of what we can learn and do together as 21st century Unitarian Universalists. Unitarian Universalism in 2023 looks nothing like Unitarianism or Universalism in 1923 or 1823 or any time before now. As Octavia Butler wrote in her novel, The Parable of the Sower, the only lasting truth is change. Although every religion and denomination goes through significant changes throughout the ages, Unitarian Universalism is defined by its constant need for development. Unitarian Universalists believe that the search for truth and meaning is unending, and that there is always more to uncover about the universe. Because we're bound together by covenant, not creed, what makes us Unitarian Universalists is our commitments to each other, whatever those may be and however those may change over time. One example of these changes is on a denominational level with the ongoing conversation about our bylaws as the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. In the fall of 2020, a commission of Unitarian Universalists first gathered to begin the process of reviewing and revising Article 2 of the UUA bylaws, which contains the principles and purposes of our association and its member congregations. While not a creed that Unitarian Universalists are required to follow, it is an agreement that congregations and covenanted communities adhere to as members of our association. Now, Article 2 was last revised in 1985 when the 7 principles as we know them today were established. And this new proposal will have its final vote at next year's General Assembly, where a 2/3 majority vote will be required to officially adopt it. But so many of the other changes we need to make are at a local and congregational level. They're about the real experiences that newcomers have when they walk through our doors or log in on Zoom for the first time. Are they tokenized and put in our brochures before they even sign the membership book? Or are they completely ignored and passed by as they stand against the wall during coffee hour? Do parents of boisterous children feel welcome in worship even when their kid is making noise? And do congregants working minimum wage jobs feel included during pledge drives when they barely have enough money to make rent? Besides guest preaching, most of my work right now is done outside of our congregations. For the past few years, I've worked with the Sanctuary Boston to build a campus ministry network among schools in the greater Boston area to support emerging adults searching for a spiritual community. I also launched the TikTok account at Unitarian Universalist in 2020, becoming one of the first people on TikTok to post viral videos about Unitarian Universalism. Since then, I've gotten over 17,000 likes on my videos, and there are dozens more creators out there sharing our faith with the world. And both of these things have allowed me to connect with people who probably wouldn't show up here on a Sunday morning, or at least they wouldn't have if not for those initial connections. I can't tell you how many comments I've received where someone says, after watching one of my videos, that they looked into Unitarian Universalism and decided to go check out the nearby congregation. And I've worked with students who went to youth group regularly in high school, but never thought about going to church in college before connecting with our campus ministry program. What I've discovered through this is that there aren't less people who need Unitarian Universalism. There are just less people who realize that it's an option for them. But I am, and you are, proof that it doesn't have to be the case. Unitarian Universalism today is both unitary and universal. It can acknowledge our shared connections while uplifting each individual's experiences with the sacred and profane. Its lack of creed allows for a variety of truths to emerge and to be discovered, while our covenants bring us together in a shared search for those truths. By understanding our positionality in a world that becomes further polarized every day, in a world where religious is by default often shorthand for religiously and politically conservative, it's imperative that liberal religions have a theology that can withstand the onslaught of conservative criticism. I believe in the life-changing, life-saving power of Unitarian Universalism. But I believe it can only be those things if we know what we're talking about and how to talk about it. Now, I'm not expecting any of you to leave here today and start posting videos on TikTok, although that would be extremely cool if you did, and let me know so I can watch you. But I'm asking you, if you also believe in the life-changing, life-saving power of Unitarian Universalism, to be the best ambassador you can be, by not only living out those UU values, but sharing them with the world. Unitarian Universalists often have a difficult relationship with evangelism, and for good reason. Many evangelists of whatever religion or sect approach conversations about religion with the perspective that mine is the best one and you should be a part of it. And I'm not asking anyone to do that. Rather, I invite you to approach it from the perspective of, hey, this thing has been really wonderful in my life. Maybe it could be wonderful in yours too. After all, the word evangelism comes from the Greek evangelion, which simply means the good news. I think we could all do with a little more good news these days. I believe in the good news of Unitarian Universalism, don't you? We need all kinds of welcome. Inside our congregations, making sure every person feels welcome and included before they even enter our sanctuaries. And outside our congregations, on the streets and in the courtrooms, fighting for justice and equity for all, in the workplace and daily life, showing compassion and mindfulness and open-mindedness to those we encounter, and in the virtual world, which is here to stay, through TikTok and Facebook and Zoom, reminding us of our interconnectedness, no matter where we are in the world. Most importantly, Unitarian Universalism for the 21st century doesn't mean anyone needs to be left behind. Sunday mornings are one of the last truly multi-generational spaces we have. This is all about drawing the circle wider, not closing people out. So while you might use text to give and stream your services online, those are just ways to bring more people into our community. You can still drop some cash in the offering plate or show up in person if that's what works for you. We are all living here in the 21st century. And it's time to welcome the next generation into our faith, not just as young people who are the future of Unitarian Universalism, but as valued members of our communities who are right here, right now. It's time to find new ways to invite Gen Zers into our congregations and truly make them feel welcome when they're here. Unitarian Universalism for Generation Z is both something entirely new and innovative and what we've been doing all along, bringing our values of radical welcome and courageous love to everyone who needs a little bit more of it in their lives.